Hi people, Moino welcome back here again as always and as usual. Yeah, as you can tell as always and as usual, I'm going to be covering in this segment an Olympic spirit from the Arbatel, Aratron or Aratron. You can use both, I'm going to use the former, spelled Aratron. Now, let's go over the thingy first in the Arbatel. The description. The governor Aratron had in his power those things which he doth naturally, that is, after the same manner and subject as those things which in astronomy are ascribed to the power of Saturn. Those things which he doth of his own free will are 1. That he can convert anything into a stone in a moment, either animal or plant, retaining the same object to the sight. 2. He converted treasures into coals and coals into treasure. 3. He giveth familiars with a definite power. 4. He teacheth alchemy, magic, and physic. 5. He reconcileth the subterranean spirits to men, maketh hairy men. 6. He causeth one to be invisible. And 7. The barren he maketh fruitful and giveth long life. And then for the rest you've got his character, and the rest is dismissive, as in the spirits he rules over, etc. Again, his thingy can be seen. His seal or character can be seen in the thumbnail of this video, obviously. Or in case people weren't aware of it, that is the case. Now, let's dive right into it. Aratron is indeed Saturnian. He does indeed correspond to the zodiac sign, the planet Saturn. He has strong Capricornian as well as Aquarian influences. Both fall under Saturn's rulership, obviously, to any practitioner. And for the rest, he has no specialty. Factually speaking, any magician, any practitioner that wants to work with Aratron, he has no specialty. He specializes in all things of a Saturnian nature. So all things that fall under Capricorn and Aquarius, some of which are aforementioned in the description and others not. I'll get to that in a second. But just to give you an idea, anything from being ambitious, having CEO levels of ambition, to the success, to just maximizing success in any venture, anything you want to undertake, anything you want to accomplish, being self-disciplined. All of these things fall under Saturn, honestly. Necromancy as well, and it just goes on, okay? You need to consult astrology for a detailed list of things that fall under both these zodiac signs, and therefore obviously Saturn. Technology, technological endeavors, you name it. Anything and everything of such a nature. Now, the description is partially correct. By description, obviously, I mean the aforeread description. Now, let me see, part that's mentioned. After the same manner and subject as those things which in astronomy are ascribed to the power of Saturn. That's literally what I said, obviously. Now, point 1, he can convert anything into stone in a moment, either animal or plant, retaining the same object to the sight. Obviously, that's not true, okay? That's simply a metaphor. It's essentially meant to stifle any individual. It's not literally meant that, oh, okay, an animal or plant is going to turn into stone the second it's like focused. Oh, okay, no. No, of course not. It's a metaphor for stifling someone, for essentially crippling someone in a manner of speaking, to the point where they become like a vegetable mentally, you know. The destructive power essentially of Aratron. Point 2, he converted treasures into coals and coals into treasure. Also not true. It's simply a reference, a metaphorical reference to alchemy. You know, the whole point of being able to turn like metal into gold or anything like that. That's it, but not meant literally, obviously. And for people that were thinking to do stuff like that, like for example with the Philosopher's Stone or like the Hand of Midas, those things are myths, obviously. You can accomplish something like that, but oh boy is it far-fetched to say the least. By all means and accounts, applicable to the average practitioner, it is wildly impractical and purely metaphorically, again, metaphorically impossible. Not literally, nothing is impossible. By Father's will, as is everything, but metaphorically, it's so far-fetched that it's like, yeah, don't bother. Point 3, he giveth familiars with a definite power. That simply stands for the fact that he gives familiars, so spirits you can work with that are subservient to him, with that are fixed in nature, as in they're stable, they're not prone to the instability of any kind or fluctuations of any kind regarding their character. He teaches alchemy, magic, and physic. 4. Yeah, that is correct. Okay, he can teach alchemy, magic, and physic. He's not the first Saturnian spirit that I am familiar with that was attributed to being able to do so. Like so, Saturnian spirits by default, they do possess the capability of teaching you magic, because up to a considerable degree, Aquarius also deals with the occult. But specifically, for example, adding technology to the equation. There are several zodiac signs that deal with magic. Sagittarius, Aquarius, and Pisces. The latter one deals with full-blown occultism, like literally dealing with spirits, entities, anything of an ethereal nature or astral nature. Whereas Aquarius deals more with readings, divinations, things that are where essentially magic or the occult and technology are fused together in a manner of speaking, or literally, what have you. And Sagittarius deals with the occult from a knowledgeable perspective. Think esotericism turned into occultism, sheer true knowledge, knowledge that isn't accessible to the average person, or knowledge of a highly advanced nature, like we're talking about upper level knowledge that leads to one being able to access occult affinities and whatnot, and their faculties. He reconciled the subterranean spirits to men, maketh hairy men. Now let me address the maketh hairy men things first. The maketh hairy men things, I confirm this. It's most likely a typo or something like that, or it's something that was mistranslated or something like that. But there is no reference. It has no meaning. Maketh hairy men. It simply refers to the aforementioned. Dealing with subterranean spirits is a reference to necromancy. Initially, superficially, I thought it was, it maybe had to do with terrestrial spirits, spirits of the earth, because subterranean would mean that in general. But no, subterranean in this context stands for Hades, the underworld. So thereby meaning necromancy, and obviously Saturn deals with necromancy. Saturn is the OG ruler, just plain ruler of necromancy. And the maketh hairy man simply stands for an additional, an additional support statement. For example, specifically dealing with necromantic spirits in a certain way. Again, you can disregard the whole hairy man thing. He causeth one to be invisible. 0.6. Yeah, that's obviously also not true. No, it simply stands for one thing that Saturn deals with, which is obscurity. The zodiac signs that the zodiac sign that deals with obscurity is Pisces, as in hiding yourself in the background, or just plain being invisible, as in people don't really notice you. You don't stand out. You're not someone that stands out from the crowd. But setting that aside, obviously, because Jupiter rules Pisces alongside Sagittarius, obviously. Saturn can also deal with that, because Saturn deals with those things by default. Saturn deals with discretion, okay? Obscurity, but obscurity specifically within the concept of being discreet, as in not standing out in an unwanted manner. That's what is meant. It's purely a metaphor, as is the case when in almost any magical workbook and related that you can come across. Obviously, it doesn't refer to literal invisibility. I refer back to what I said earlier in relation to converting things earlier. It's the same thing, okay? You can literally become invisible, but oh boy, is it far-fetched to say the least. I've already been over this in the past. And last but not least, the barren he maketh fruitful and giveth long life. That's also not true, because that's simply a reference to, for example, women that are barren, or men. They can't have children, they can't conceive because their reproductive organs are not up to par, in a manner of speaking. Something's wrong down there, to put it that way. Yeah, no, that's not what it references to. Okay, because by default, Leo as a zodiac sign deals with childbirth and having children in any way. And the sun, obviously, its ruler. And funnily enough, guess who opposes Leo? Aquarius. So Saturn opposes the sun. I'll get to my point in a second. Other than that, there are no zodiac signs that or planets that directly deal with childbirth, like in a straightforward, literal manner. Others that do are in a more indirect manner, okay, but not directly within given context. Um, the thing is, I know where this comes from. I can make an analysis, quick analysis in my mind. The whole point of the barren he make it fruitful and give it long life, it's not that. Saturn by default technically can be utilized, okay, and Saturnian spirits in general, to make someone infertile, since Saturn's Aquarius opposes Leo's sun, or the sun's Leo. They came to the conclusion somehow that, hey, listen, if the sun can give life in that context, in terms of conceiving, childbirth, then Saturn can take it away. And if Saturn can take it away, then Saturn must also be able to give life, and that's where this comes from. There in the past, I have met spirits as well, or I've interacted with spirits or read the magical workbooks that had the same mentality. For example, the pagan god Pazuzu, spelled Pazuzu. Yeah, Pazus, as I like to call him, just a nickname of mine for him. I mean, with Pazuzu, they had the same mentality. Pazuzu is a Saturnian spirit, and people that created him inadvertently and worshipped him subsequently, their mentality was, hey, listen, if this guy has the power to bring about hard times, as in destroy crops and stuff like that, then he should also be able to do the opposite, which is bring about fruitful and bountiful harvests. And if he has the power to destroy by tormenting people, he can also protect us from evil spirits. That's what they thought it goes both ways, and that's where this comes from. Alternatively, although unlikely, the barren he make it fruitful and give it long life can also, but highly unlikely, also be an indirect reference to just that, the harvest, agriculture, essentially. But again, that's not the case. I'm simply giving an example. At absolute best, it can also be a slight reference to that, as in, hey, since you can deal with bad times, as in, I have like a huge crop field and all of a sudden my crop dries and I'm gonna starve to death, and then you should be able to reverse it as well. But of course, that's not the case here, because it explicitly refers to give it long life, and the barren, referring specifically to the barren, so referring to childbirth. And that is it with Aratron. Last but not least, regarding appearance, Aratron appears as a being, a humanoid figure of regular size. So think my height, 5'6", stuff like that, something like that. Just a human being of average size, a humanoid male figure of average size, but not so much gender focused, just plain humanoid figure that is obsidian black in color, like the darkest form of black, or one of the darkest forms of black. If you don't know what obsidian black is, Google it. It's like really black, like black, Saturnian black. And that was also not a surprise for me, because I've dealt with Saturnian spirits before, and he is anything but the only spirit that appears like that. By default, Saturnian spirits, some Saturnian spirits, especially the high-ranking ones, can appear like that, since black is the color that Saturn is associated with because of its dark and melancholic nature in terms of its attributes applicable to spiritual forces in the world that rule over existence as ordained by Father, obviously, as is everything. Then that explains the appearance. And that is pretty much it. For the rest, he has a regular, typical Saturnian voice. Nice, strong, cool, and yet calm, focused, everything. Let me see if I missed anything else. I mean, if I have anything else, or if I missed something. No. That is all. Bye-bye.